The first thing that I'd like to discuss with you has to do with the idea of contact. You see, I think it's our perception that prevents us from being better strikers of our golf ball, and not our ability. As I was just mentioning to you a second ago, perception is what I believe drives motion. Therefore, if we believe that we're supposed to strike this golf ball by allowing our club to get underneath it, then that's what we're probably going to try and do. Golf is designed to be a little bit different. The intent is to get this golf ball spinning backwards, and in order to do that, we have to allow this club to drop down onto it, catching the ball on the way down through and then into the ground. So if you're a person or an individual who's been hitting the ground and not getting much from it, don't despair by thinking that hitting the ground is a bad thing. It's not. You've just got to make sure that you're hitting the ground in the correct side of the ball, which would be from the ball forward towards your target, not coming into the ball from the underneath side. If you do something like that, a lot of your club head energy and speed is going to be going directly into the ground. What you're after, on top of backspin, is to make sure that the energy of your golf club that you create during your swing, whatever speed that you have, goes directly towards the golf ball. Give the ball the energy that you create, not the ground, and you'll see that you're going to get a little bit more result from a distance perspective. Remember, golf is a game where we're trying to drop a club down onto and through the golf ball. It is a game of descent down onto, so you want to be a downward striker and not an upwards lifter. We'll keep that in mind when we start pulling backwards and looking at how we practice to be a better striker of the golf ball. Okay, continuing on with our theme, we want to make sure that you become a downward striker in the golf ball and not an upwards lifter. So what other perceptions do you have to overcome? Well, as I just mentioned before we got onto the mat, you want to make sure that you're not thinking of this club as a lifter. So you've got to avoid this concept of thinking that the club is designed to come and get under and lift the golf ball. Now that's a difficult one to get over, because every time you stand around the golf ball, you actually see the club almost underneath it. So it's quite logical to think that that's what you want to try to do. But in fact, as I mentioned, we want to allow this club to be dropping down onto it. What else would hold you back from a perceptual perspective? If you think of the golf swing as one big circle, as much as you might know that you want to make a divot from the ball forward, if you think that the golf swing is a big circle where it's a circle backwards and the same circle back towards the golf ball, well, once you get to the area of the ball, your club's then going to be coming back up again, and even though you want to create that divot, that image of the big circle will prevent you from being able to do that. Understand that in golf, what we're trying to do again in descending down onto the golf ball means that on the way back down to the golf ball, we're creating more of a steep line towards the ball and not trying to recreate that circle that we may have started with. Fair enough. Now that you've got an understanding, how do you get better at being actually able to do it? In a facility like this one with mats such as these, we could bring you out and say, all right, let's go and see if we become downward strikers. We'd line you up, let you hit a golf ball, and then ask you what you've done. The reality is that you probably wouldn't know. So how do you know that you're doing things right? Because you see, the last thing that I want you to do is come in here and think that you're becoming a great striker of the golf ball, get outside in the course, and all of a sudden you're hitting the ground several inches behind the ball. You'd wonder what you've been doing wrong all year long. Well, we can take care of that fairly quickly, and the idea is a simple one. We're going to use obstacles, because what I believe is that we are very good at hitting targets that we're after. So in order to become a downward striker, one of our most popular drills that we have our students doing all the time is to get used to bringing the club down over something to get to the golf ball. So using an I-9 or a pitching wedge in this case, I'm going to set up to hit the golf ball as I normally would. I've got golf balls about a foot behind the one I'm going to try and hit. To avoid pushing them out of the way backwards, I'm going to rest the club just above them, create the rest of my backswing with the intent of coming back to this golf ball. If I can create contact to this golf ball without disturbing those, then I'm pretty much guaranteed that I wasn't trying to get underneath. And it wasn't about how good or how bad that shot was. It was about me knowing what I just did with my golf club. I want to become very aware at knowing that my club is coming down onto something and not coming up at. So with a simple drill like this one, it gives you the feedback that you can use to perceive what's going on and not just guess. If you don't want to use the tape because you're afraid they might be noisy, and I'll give you a demonstration of the noise factor, and if it bothers you a little bit, then there's an alternative. If you think that you're going to be coming in and scattering golf balls all over the range because you're still the upwards swinger of the golf club, then we can use tape. And in this case, We're just going to use duct tape, so with all due respect to Red Green and his love of duct tape, we're going to put it in place as a training aid. So what I've done is I've put a piece of tape a couple inches in front of the ball that I'm trying to strike, and I put a piece of tape a few inches further behind as well. If you understand where we're going, this will all of a sudden make some great sense to you. My idea is that I want to have this club, again, drop down onto the golf ball, continuing downward, and in this case, removing the tape that's in front of the golf ball. If I do this right, I'll always be replacing this piece of tape because every time I swing it will disappear. On the behind side, this piece of tape should never disappear, because if it does, it means that I've been coming back up into the golf ball. Remember, that's not what I want to be doing. So again, I can take my golf club, put it behind the golf ball, make my swing, and if I've done it right, the forward piece of tape is gone. As you can see, it's actually stuck to my golf club. The one behind is still there. So I know that at least my club was somewhat working its way in a descent. And since I'm in control of my golf club, that's what I wanted to do. I now know exactly what's going on when I'm in my practice mode. So if you want to become a better striker of the golf ball, learn to hit it on the downswing. Take some time to do this over and over again. And what my suggestion would be, take 3 or 4 golf balls, hit them with the tape where the golf ball is behind, then get rid of them and hit one. Then go right back in and hit 3 or 4 with the drill in place, remove them and hit one. If you do this for about 30 golf balls over a period of about 3 months, I doubt very much that when you get back outside in springtime, you'll be on the fairway coming up into the golf ball, hitting the ground. You will have worked your way through the concept with an understanding of what you want to do, plus you would have reinforced it with some correct practice, verifying that it is what you wanted to do, and then in fact you did it. Okay? Time to move on to our next topic.